Hey, what's going on? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Brandon Routh's here with us, DC Legends of Tomorrow. What's going on, man?
Hey, good. Happy to be here.
Good to have you here. You've moved back to the United States. Your time in Vancouver is over.
Yes.
What has this whole crazy life been like for you the last couple of years?
Crazy is definitely
a good way to put it.
A good word to use. Been spending a lot of time in Vancouver, where we shoot Legends of Tomorrow. From Los Angeles. Well, lived in Los Angeles the last 20 years, and so it's been crazy moving back. My wife and I, Courtney Ford, who also plays Nora Dark there beside me on Legends, we've just been transitioning back to Los Angeles in the last 2 weeks.
That's
with
really
our
cool.
with our 7-year-old son.
Nice. What's it been like sharing the experience with your wife? Like, that seems a little different than some other people have had.
It's great. You know, we worked together a couple times on a couple independent films and shorts, but this opportunity was the first time that we're two characters who don't know each other at the beginning. So we got to have that build a relationship, which was a lot of fun. And she's an amazing actor to work opposite.
Sure.
And she comes from a more dramatic background, and I come from a more comedic background. So we're both learning from each other through our experiences, and especially on this show, she's really worked on her comedy chops. She didn't realize how funny she was, but she's just incredibly funny, and we have a great time, you know, working opposite each other because of that dynamic from Ray to Nora, the light and the dark kind of butting heads, and it makes for great comedy.
That's really cool. How did you develop your comedy chops? Who were some of the inspirations along the way?
I just watched a lot of, grew up watching a lot of sitcoms. And the live studio audience stuff. It just kind of got, stuck in there. And I didn't have cable for a lot of my childhood, so it was a lot of, on PBS, local, there was a lot of British comedy. So a show called Are You Being Served, which was like in the 70s, Red Dwarf, and Monty Python. A lot of other stuff that just kind of was random for a kid in Iowa, but that was all becoming part of me.
What does it make you think about when you think like how far cable's come to where you were in Iowa with no cable at all? Like, what's it been like just watching the industry kind of blow up, especially recently too with everything?
It's still hard to fathom and wrap my head around. It seems pretty quick now. Looking back, I'm sure it had more of a progression, but there was certainly a smaller amount of opportunity for an actor for jobs. And now there are just so many jobs, so many shows, so many networks. I don't even know all the networks and possible places to have a job as an actor, that there are so many actors working that I don't even know who they are because I've not seen the show, nor have I even heard of the show.
And you're in the business.
And I should know these things.
I mean, you've kind of been zoned in for a little while. You got to understand that.
True.
When you think about Ray Palmer, what have been the challenges in playing that character, and what's that chapter been like for you?
The challenge? The challenges are, it's a different kind of comedy to play. The last big comedy I did was a sitcom, multicam live studio audience show for CBS called Partners back in 2012, and that's a bigger, it's a different way of approaching a laugh and a joke. So with this, it had to be a little more subtle. But Ray's not that subtle. So it's finding that level of subtlety for Ray in a joke to play a joke that's meant to be kind of big and broad, but in the context of the show, what is finding that right level, and then the balance with the other characters. And that's kind of the fun challenge on the day. And where I can't plan what I'm going to do. I have an idea about how a joke is going to be and the rhythm of it or the idea of it. But sometimes that changes completely when I'm on the set because the other actor, I always know what they're going to do either.
Sure.
So especially with, working with Nick Zano, we have a lot of chemistry working together and both come from comedy backgrounds. So we're always kind of changing things on the fly and game to do that. With Courtney, since we live together, we had the opportunity to kind of build some of that stuff in there, build a lot of physical humor that's between the characters of her, hitting Ray and, pushing him and all kind of stuff. But even then, as we grew the relationship between the characters, that stuff just happened naturally too, which is why comedy to me is so much fun. You can have that in drama also, that stuff can change, but it's more subtle, and the comedy is just more fun.
There's something fulfilling about the comedy because, like, when
It's
you come
happier-
up with
it's
a
a
joke,
happier
it's
experience
happier
on
for
the
sure,
day.
number one. But when you come up with a great joke or you make somebody laugh and they're not expecting it, like, that's a fun thing.
When you hear the crew laugh in
Exactly.
Video Village, you know, or,
Then
or
you know
even your
you did it.
co-star starts to crack, it's like, you know, you did.
Yeah, if you
something
break
good.
your co-star, you know you really hit on something. That's cool. So when you think about acting, like, there are a lot of iconic roles out there. Superman is obviously one of those roles. What's your relationship been with it? Because, like, you did it, you had it, it was done, and then now it's kind of coming back into your life. So how has it kind of evolved over the years?
Well, I did it and it was done, but it was never fully done for me. There was always that unresolved bit of it that you know, because I did that whole experience and I was, you know, 24, 25 at the time, very naive. And really just thinking this is my future for a couple films, and that didn't happen the way that I had planned. So there's a lot of time dealing with that perceived future that didn't happen the way that I had intended it. So now, being able to step back into the suit and the role with the maturity that I've gained over the past 13 years is really awesome and exciting, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I've really kind of been able to have resolution to that whole experience, and I feel at peace with the whole thing, and very surreal again, but awesome.
How long did it take you to find a peace with it?
It was in the suit fitting. I had a couple wardrobe costume fittings in the suit back in Los Angeles, and that was part of it. And then on the day, we did the first day we filmed. The scene is when they released the photo of me in the suit for the first time, and seeing the positive response by fans and media was. Meant a lot to me, honestly, knowing that people were happy and excited, and I knew I was happy and excited, but to know that without anybody's reaction, I'm just a guy in a suit, right? So, so that was really powerful. And when I got to film later that day, I was there on the set, and the crew was kind of seeing the suit for the first time, and they were. Or I was very at peace right then. I thought, you know what? I don't even have to do this anymore. I want to, but like I'm here. I've accomplished that thing that was missing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just funny how life works sometimes. Like, you thought it was going to be this thing that lasted for years and years, didn't go that way, and then it comes in a different way, but you're able to appreciate it in a way that maybe you wouldn't have been able to.
Definitely not. You know, and I've come to realize that I was much more, I mean, I knew at the time that I was much more in tune with Clark. I was able to hone in and be that character more comfortably. Superman I had to work at quite a lot. And now, it's just easier to step into that role, and I feel much more comfortable in the Superman aspect of the character. And that comes with, you know, 13 years older of life experience,
that
wisdom,
really
and being a father, and all of those things really kind of helped. So it happened at the right time again.
Definitely. What was the most daunting part of the Superman character? Like, when you're 24, 25, like that's a big thing to live up to. Like, what were you looking at that was really the hardest part of it?
I mean, following in Christopher Reeve's footsteps. You know, he's my Superman. So living up to that was incredibly daunting. And just, you know, being that and having people receive that, right? So so being there and not feeling like an imposter, and not having people think that I'm an imposter, and not trying to do it better or different even necessarily, but just to be a transition for him was very, you know, was worried about that. If people it almost didn't matter how much I felt like I was the character. If people didn't respond that way, again, it doesn't, I'm just a guy in a suit who feels like Superman. So, I mean, I don't know how that happened, but it did, I guess.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. You mentioned the positive affirmation you received once you put the suit back on. What were some other things that surprised you? Just being on the set, getting back into character, what are little things you're going to hold on to about this experience?
just the power of Superman and that suit. And you know, I know that existed when I did Superman Returns, because I would see people who hadn't seen the suit before, visitors come, and just be kind of in awe of Superman, and grown men and women crying, you know, and being giddy about the whole thing. But it was the same. It was a similar experience again, which is, I guess it wasn't surprising or new, but I appreciated it in a deeper way, and just I felt more at ease allowing people to have those feelings around me, because I was okay with it. I was okay with where I was, and I felt more calm portraying this role. So it was easier for me to kind of fulfill their dream in a way.
It's a lot of pressure.
And be that way when I wasn't filming. I mean, I wasn't being method, but there's a certain, for me, there's a certain, like, I maintain that energy of Superman. The jokes, the offset jokes that I would make playing Ray Palmer or even Clark, I found myself, you know what, I'm going to maintain this is Superman right now.
Right.
Even though I'm Brandon playing Superman, I maintained kind of just a little more reservedness, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're just trying to get into the role, and then people are coming up to you and crying and screaming, and they're expecting a certain thing. It's one thing to be recognized for role. Like, when you're recognized for Ray Palmer, that's one thing. Superman just feels like a whole
he's an
different
icon,
moment.
so you know, I feel a sense of obligation to keep up that iconic representation as a living, breathing interpretation of that character.
But not to lose Brandon in the process,
exactly,
you know, and still to allow Brandon to evolve while you're still doing this. Like, there's a lot of balance out there.
Well, I take off take the suit off one leg at a time, just like all the other guys.
When you think about this show, for people that haven't checked it out or haven't gotten into the crossover and all that stuff, what are some big things you want people to think about?
You know what? Legends of Tomorrow is an amazing show. I've loved being a part of it for the last 5 seasons. I think it has been an underdog in many ways. Last season, season 4, was our best season. The cast is amazing. Really working on all cylinders, and the comedy and the quirkiness and the goofiness and the acceptance of outsiders, I think, is a real strong aspect of our show. Again, it's been a pleasure working with everyone, being able to spend the last 3 seasons working with my wife, and the love of the fans that have grown for Ray and Nora over the past 3 years. We appreciate them so much, and the work we've gotten to do, and kind of showing the light and the dark, and how 2 characters like that can kind of come together and show some real kind of like gritty reality in that of her character coming through trauma, and Ray's character kind of dismissing hard times, and through each other, she's found some more light, and he's found some more balance between dark. And I think that's what the show is doing also, is you have these outsiders, and you have Ray, kind of the heart of the show, and these other guys coming in, and that kind of interaction between those forces is the magic of the show. And you know, we have great season 5, you know, coming out for everyone, and hope they stay tuned. And then, you know, we start off with Crisis is our first episode of Legends of Tomorrow. And then the real premiere kind of Legends is the 2nd episode, which is a lot of fun. And it's kind of a mockumentary style episode, which is pretty fun.
Have you thought about what life will look like for you without all this going on?
You know, it's nice. It's kind of normal and calm, which is good. I miss my crew and my cast up in Vancouver, and going to work every day, and the energy of Ray Palmer. But I also look forward to, you know, what's next, and doing even more comedy, and continuing to make people laugh.
Yeah, I feel like we can open you up to a whole new platform to make people laugh, because they've known you for all this, and they've seen your comedic genius, but to really let that go, I'm sure you're excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next chapter, and you know, it's my favorite thing to do, is come to work and laugh every day, and make other people laugh, and people at home.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Brandon, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Check this guy out on the CW. For Brandon, I'm DJ. See you next time here on The Sit Down.